The world is changing, and so is real estate. It's changing in a way that gives consumers more control, a better use of technology, and guaranteed savings. Hi, this is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. I've been on the air and in the media educating and informing consumers for over 7 years now. I'm excited to introduce Bundle Select, which allows consumers to bundle all of their real estate services online, simplifying the process while averaging a savings of 20% or more. That's right, Bundle Select helps buyers and sellers streamline real estate, lending, and title. In addition, our concierge service will coordinate the entire transaction for you, so you benefit by working with the same team, saving time and saving money. You'll not only be working with the most qualified, hand-picked experts, but you will also save a significant amount of money in all three services as well. Act now and take advantage of this opportunity in the Bay Area. Go to bundleselect.com. That's bundleselect.com. Again, bundleselect.com.
Real estate broker Cal BRE 004666902. Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, continuing the series here. I'll introduce my guest in just a minute. Just a reminder before we get started, we're with you every day. You could download the podcast if you go to reradiolive.com. Or also, you can go to iTunes and just type in Real Estate Radio Live. You could find the information there, download the podcast. Our show, just a reminder, for over 7 years now, we've been focusing on education and information. That's what we do. Our main objective is to bring in great guests like I have today, content information, with the goal inside is to really educate the consumer to have you have a better chance to make wise decisions in and around your real estate. However, we also, as I mentioned before, on a regular basis, we bring in guests that are unique to the Silicon Valley, to our Bay Area, that could offer advice, information, and education to the consumers in many different aspects. In this way, and this is one of the reasons I'm going to introduce my guest again now for the second time around, but we're going to have an ongoing series. And Mr. Jack Russo, good to have you back today.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me. We've got a little audience here today.
We do.
That's great. Thank you. Makes it more live.
See that? We know at least two people are listening.
I like that.
As you know, before, we're going to do a continued series, and it really is the series is going to be on starting something in Silicon Valley. Jack is a founding partner, actually, of the Computerlaw group in Palo Alto, and we've known each other for nearly 20 years, so we have some background. So the idea of this series is to really engage in what it takes for an entrepreneur to get started, some of the ideas, what happens when you have an idea, who do you go to, who do you rely on, how do you raise the money. We're going to do a bunch of shows on this because, as we both know, it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of time. So last week, Jack, we started a little bit of kind of just square one. What happens when you have an idea? Who do you go to? Someone like yourself. You guys specialize in that. Before we jump into part two, maybe, again, you can give the audience a little bit about your background.
Sure. I grew up in New York. I was born in Queens, and then my parents moved to Brooklyn when I was a small kid and bought a grocery store. They were entrepreneurial. They had a little supermarket in the days when there really weren't Safeways, and I started at 6 years old behind the counter making change and bagging groceries and then delivering groceries. And I told that story. I won't go into length, but in general, you learn a lot about what works and what doesn't work with the public, what the public demands, what pays and what doesn't pay, and eventually I realized that I didn't want to do the hard work that my dad and mom were doing, and it led to one thing and another, and I went to graduate school and got a master's degree in computer science at City University in New York. Actually, my parents paid for one thing, which my mom were listening, and I should send her the link. She's still alive. She's 88 next week. And 87, let me correct myself. She'll say, I'm not 88. My dad passed away a couple of years ago at 90, so I'm told I have good genes. My mom is still in great shape, lives on her own at 87. And she convinced me. She said, "You're smart. You really should stay in school." And the one thing they paid for, because I have a graduate degree in computer science, an MBA from Columbia University in New York, a law degree from UCLA, an advanced law degree called an LLM from University in the European Union. We don't have to talk about any of that stuff, but my mom said, "You really don't want to be like your dad."
You said my dad's not so bad, right?
My dad was great. He was a hard worker.
Yeah.
He worked 7 days a week, 16 hours a day.
Yep.
And he had a little business. And the thing I crack up, because I've told you a story, but your audience will get a kick, is my mom would do one real estate deal every 4 to 5 years and make more money than my dad made in the entire 5 years. And she used to say, and I hope she listens to this because she'll crack up, because she used to say, "I tried to convince your dad to buy those lots. They were $100 a lot out in eastern Long Island." He said, "They won't even finish the Long Island Expressway." And my mom said, "I would be a billionaire with a B if your dad didn't stop me from
Explain where
buying."
that land is she
That
wanted to
land
buy,
is
right?
now the Hamptons, which is extremely valuable. My mom had the foresight 50, 60, 70 years ago to say to my dad, they were a very young couple. They got married in their teens. Well, he wasn't a teenager, but my mom was. Basically, she said they will have helicopters that fly from roofs in Manhattan to eastern Long Island to be on those pristine beaches.
Uh-huh.
And my dad would say, "No, it'll never happen. Never, never, never. It takes too long to drive." My mom was right. My dad was wrong. And real estate made them, as a couple, far more money than he made from the 7-day-a-week grind that they did in the grocery store.
So you got your hard work from your dad, and then you got the visionary, because you're quite a visionary. You got that from your mom.
I think so. Well, I should say, if she's listening, I should say, "Yes, Mom, thanks. I appreciate it." She did have what I would call more of an entrepreneurial spirit for believing that you could buy, hold, fix up, renovate, do stuff with real estate. She still to this day believes that waterfront property in particular, her birthday is this month. So she's still in the mode of living on the beach. For her was sort of a big ideal. And she always would try to buy places that had a big view of the ocean, big view of the Long Island Sound, any big body of water, Gulf of Mexico and Florida. So she has done well with real estate in general. She's a very smart woman. She's taking care of herself. She hopes to live to 100. I hope she lives to 100. Great. My dad said to me before he died, he said, "I've lived 18 years longer than my father, so I expect you to live 18 years longer than me." I said, "Dad, that would be like 106 or 107 at the time." He said, "Well, if anyone could do it, you can do it." And my mom said, "Yeah, go for it." Of course, I don't know if you have the money to live that long these
that's
days.
a problem.
It's a big issue, right? Which gets us to intellectual property, because the money makers beyond real property is really the creations of the mind, which we outlined last week, which is when you have an idea, you want to create it in a tangible form, which means writing it down. Some people use a computer. As I said, for my money, I like using a notepad. I like using a pen. I like the portability of paper. You can put it in your pocket. And in fact, I often take out of my pocket pieces of paper. My wife cracks up. It's not necessarily money, but they're little notes about little things that I do and what I'm thinking about. And go through the steps of trying to visualize where that idea can go, write it down, write down the elements, write down the expected challenges, think of some good names or some good conventions, because as I like to say, the most intellectual property, not all, but most, runs out over time, except trademarks can last forever. Domain names can last forever. There are beer companies that are 400-plus years old that still exist under the same brand.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
And it's a rare event. I mean, Coca-Cola has been around for a couple of hundred years. That brand is worth more than the trade secrets of the formula, the factories. If every factory burned down and every other asset of Coca-Cola burned down, they could open up tomorrow on the strength of that brand with banks and others that would finance them. So think of a good name, make it something that's not generic, not too descriptive, ideally unique, Obviously, we told the story about Apple for computers and how they walked into my previous firm, Davis, Stafford, Kelman, and Fenwick, now Fenwick and West, and it's a long story. I won't repeat it, but it's a good, solid, unique name because Apple has nothing to do with the computer. So they created that brand from ground zero.
So that's a good point too. I want to hold on to here. Last week we talked about the idea, get the idea, take the notes, and you summarize that again. So you're saying that when you create a name, make sure, and we've talked about this. So if you create a name or find a name, you should, in this day and age, you go on and try to take domains and get as much as you can that's related to that potential topic of what you're working on. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
So we had a client that walked in, it's a good example, last week, and said, I'm doing a startup in the area of cryptocurrencies. This is a hot area right now. It's the merger of financial technology, computing, internet, banking, investing.
Cloud and everything.
Cloud. It's a lot of things all synergizing together in a way that's creating immense value for entrepreneurs that want to be in that space. And he said, I have a name, I won't repeat the name, but basically it was a collection of different words that got at the idea of an investor, a long-term investment in various cryptocurrencies. And I said, you got to take those three different names that you're playing around with and immediately search for whether the domain names are available, because if someone scoops you, you may have to pay millions of dollars to get the name that you originated. And there are people that literally will squat on domain names and then ask for a small ransom. And I've handled cases, some of them immensely big. There's a good story. The guy that went through it tells it better than I can, wrote a book about it, in fact, where he, many decades ago, staked out the name sex.com, S-E-X.com. That name was ultimately stolen from him.
Stolen?
Long story. We won't get into it. Maybe another topic. You get into, anything of value can ultimately be stolen, whether it's a cash in a bank vault or it's a car sitting on the street. Just think of it. Just about anything of value, other than hopefully your soul, can be stolen. And he staked out sex.com. He had it stolen from him. He pursued litigation and eventually recovered $9 million for the period of time that he could not use that domain. And he recovered the domain and eventually sold it. He wrote a book about it. He tells a great story about how it could have essentially been a much bigger business. I don't know who owns it today. I'm sure they own it legally. There's a chain of title, like real estate issue, that domain name reservations create. When you buy a domain name, you own that name for that domain, and the only issue will be, is it going to conflict with somebody else's trademark rights that may pre-exist? But for my money, when you're getting started, think more optimistically. Like, let's get the domain name, let's get the domain names and vary them around the various permutations. So he would have been wiser at the time, but didn't do it. Get like 100 variations on sex.com. I mean, he could have gotten, gaysex.com and lesbiansex.com. You get the flavor of this.
So this, so along with the same,
we got our audience cracking up here. Right?
So along with the same names, we've talked a lot about taglines, right?
Yes.
A lot of things like that.
Yes.
And taglines sometimes would be, you could use them in your industry. They could sometimes apply to different industries, so you have to be careful about that. Is that just as important to grab taglines for things you might use within your business?
Yeah, obviously people are going to remark, gosh, you're already having me spend, even if I have a discount plan, it's usually $10 or so a domain. If I'm buying 50 domains, I'm already spending $500. But that $500 is really going to help you focus your attention on where you want to go, because you could think of the domain and the tagline. To give a tagline, we like to say in our business that we are lawyers for the internet economy. That's a tagline. So it's Computerlaw Group, computerlaw.com, which we obtained over 35 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And then we created a website at that domain, but we also put the tagline that we are lawyers for the Internet economy. Now, what were we doing? We were staking out a position that as lawyers, we want to focus attention on we have a niche, and our niche is not to compete with divorce lawyers or bankruptcy lawyers or personal injury lawyers. Our niche is the Silicon Valley community that has a computer-based technology or startup or business and that wants to be able to have a lawyer that knows and has expertise in the new digital economy.
Right.
And you have become a new digital economy person. Yeah. And we could talk about that.
That's
but
right.
in general, almost all of us are, the Internet is forcing it. Almost all of us are transforming ourselves because things happen much faster. Yeah. Today, I'm in the middle of a real estate deal, and years ago, it was kind of a big deal. You'd show up in an office, you'd sign a bunch of paper, da-da-da. Today, if you want to make an offer, it's all electronically sent to you by DocuSign or EcuSign or one of the other signature things. Yep. And literally, 20 pages of paperwork is initialed in about 20 seconds. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how quickly people can get deals done.
That's the only thing that moves quickly in real estate, by the way. What we're going to do is take a quick break. Before we do that, though, and come to segment 2, again, remind the listeners what your area of expertise is and then how they could reach you.
The firm name is Computerlaw Group, Jack Russo. Jack at Computerlaw.com works. www.computerlaw.com works. We also have a division that we started a few decades ago now that's broader that we call the Entrepreneur Law Group within Computer Law Group. It's the same firm, but it's a group of lawyers that do more entrepreneurship, more transactional work, more startup work. There's a website for that as well. If I'm recalling it correctly, it's entrepreneurlaw-group.com. Somebody else had entrepreneur.com or entrepreneur law. You get your own medicine, right?
That's right.
But as a general proposition, essentially, we look for people, particularly like you, a serial entrepreneur, that says, look, I really want a smaller firm, a more focused firm, a less expensive firm that's competent and wants to help me grow a business that is going to be more in the digital age.
Right.
Although we've done other businesses that are not digital. I mean, my mom still calls me if she's doing a real estate transaction. But in general, we see 90% of our clients are Internet-based companies, Internet-based startups, Internet-based teams, people that are in the digital economy.
All right. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and continue our conversation about starting something in the Silicon Valley. We're going to talk more when we come back about next kind of phase. What do we do after you have the idea? You secure some domain names. You get your taglines. What next? How do you go out? How do you find your marketing? How do you know this idea is going to work? This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back with you to continue in just a minute. Those that are following us on Facebook, stick with us. We'll be back in just a minute or so.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Is there a real estate bubble in the Bay Area? No, but there is now a real estate bundle in the Bay Area. That's right, Bundle Select. Hi, this is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. I've been on the air and in the media educating and informing consumers for over 7 years now. I'm excited to introduce Bundle Select, which allows consumers to bundle all of their real estate services online, simplifying the process while averaging a savings of 20% or more. That's right, Bundle Select helps buyers and sellers streamline real estate, lending, and title. In addition, our concierge service will coordinate the entire transaction for you, so you benefit by working with the same team, saving time and saving money. You'll not only be working with the most qualified, hand-picked experts, but you will also save a significant amount of money in all three services as well. Act now and take advantage of this opportunity in the Bay Area. Go to bundleselect.com. That's bundleselect.com. Again, bundleselect.com.
Real estate broker Cal BRE 00466902. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you again for joining us today. We are sitting here with Jack Russo with the Computerlaw Group out of Palo Alto. This is our second show of many series we're going to be doing over the next several months, really about starting something new in Silicon Valley. It's a new twist to the show, really, but eventually we are going to have several shows that are related to real estate, not only real estate transactions, but Jack, over the next couple of weeks, I also want to talk to you about some of the companies that are disrupting lending, real estate, and just kind of this area of topic of disruption in general. I think when you look around, I think a lot of people are interested. The word has really gained a lot of momentum the last couple of years, hasn't it? And here in Silicon Valley, let's face it, we're right in the middle of everything.
People can see that the world has changed. Putting a computer in folks' pockets, often people, two of them, one in each pocket, that's instantly and 7x24 by 365 available to connect to another person, another organization, another government, another whatever, changes the game. Yep. It totally changes the game, as we've seen Amazon take advantage of and lots of other companies. And a lot of companies it's back to my parents. They had a little grocery store. Big supermarkets came in and pretty much wiped them out. Mm-hmm. Now, they were smart enough to transform that business, as I said, over time. And you could see this still happening with smaller grocers. The food gets more prepared. Mm-hmm. So the delivery is almost of the meal. Now, you've got these meal companies that are coming in with internet ordering of pre-boxed goods that are trying to wipe out even that aspect of the transformation.
Right.
And when you see that, this is normal evolution of economic activity. It's like farmers, they start raising dairy cows. They realize that the price of milk is becoming commoditized. They start making cheese. They realize the cheese is becoming commoditized. They start making pizzas. The pizzas become restaurants. The restaurants become delivery services. Yeah. You see this evolution of economic activity that's normal as technology changes the game, as it continues to change the game. We have a big trial going on in San Francisco, not our firm, but the courts do, involving who owns the technology for the future of autonomous driving. It's the big Waymo, Google versus Uber case. There's daily reporting about it. It's hilarious in some ways, listening to some of the stuff that's going on in that case. But in a way, the thing that Travis Kalanick, the former CEO, still board member, still big shareholder of Uber, said, 80% of the Uber game is the expense of the driver. It's not the computer system.
Yeah, right.
And he said, if we can automate even a portion of that business, even small local drives, the profitability potential is immense. And it might be a winner-take-all situation.
It is. Well, there's so many different stories and examples. But if we get back to the general entrepreneur that wants to come in, let's say they have the idea, they've started securing the domain names. A firm like yours is perfect. I would agree 100%. And I'm guessing not easy to find. I guess that's the tough part. If you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea, obviously you could take it a couple of different directions. What if they can't find someone like you? Obviously they can if they're listening to this show, and they might. But what other options does a person have?
I think most people these days will do a search on Google because it is the main search tool. And they'll just start typing some of the questions they have, and there are sites they will get to. There's one called Quora, Quora.
Right.
It's kind of a question and answer site. And there's a feedback loop that will start to help people think about, well, what kind of attorney do I need, or what kind of help do I need? And there are design professionals, what I like to say, you'd be amazed at what you can find online through the sort of outsourcing of what otherwise would be difficult to find. But I had an idea, in fact, still working on it. I won't go through the details of it, but it's very complicated story because I do a fair amount of inventing on my own. Nothing immensely famous yet. My wife, as I said, cracks up when I talk to her about some of them. She thinks, well, that's pretty stupid. Then I pick up a pack of cigarettes from the garbage that someone threw away, and I said, well, look, Camel cigarettes, they decided to invent, and they did invent, the fact that to get more menthol, I don't smoke, but to get more menthol, my dad did, so I noticed when there were cigarette butts all over the place. to get more menthol, you can squeeze the butt of the cigarette. This is a patented invention by Camel. See, a lot of people don't even know this because they don't even read. They just don't even read the packaging, but I do. And they squeeze, when you squeeze it, it releases more menthol into the cigarette itself. So when you smoke it, you get a bigger hit.
Really?
I'm told,
so it gives you a more dose of caffeine or whatever?
Yeah,
or
whatever is that
caffeine,
menthol.
Nicotine, I mean.
Right, nicotine.
Yeah, nicotine.
And probably mentholated nicotine.
Right.
They changed their packaging and their brand to reflect that invention of technology in the cigarette.
Wow.
See, so that's minor improvements can sometimes make a big difference. So the point is you can start looking around at analogies, but there are design professionals that will help you visualize if you're not good, and some people are exceptionally good. They come in, I brought my computer because they come in with their laptop, they walk in the door, and they literally open it up on the screen, no projector needed. They just open it up the way you and I are here. Steve Jobs used to say, this thing should just open with one finger. He said, this was like the most important feature. It needs to open with one finger. Bless his soul. If he's still alive, he says, yeah, there's something wrong with your computer. It's not opening with one finger. But you look at the screen, and they start to walk through their little pencil designs. There are actually people that will take those pencil designs and put them into a form that creates a visualization and eventually almost a 3D model that allows it to twist.
Right.
And now there are plastic printers, 3D printers you can go to that will print.
So they'll actually do their beginning initial work here, even sketch, rough draw.
Yes.
And then when they get the images available to a certain extent, then they take them and have a 3D printer.
Yes. So if you were inventing, let's say, a new case for an iPhone, this is an old case, you might say, well, this case is a little large and kludgy. I want to do something thinner. You are entitled in the law to reverse engineer this case. So you can take this case. I'm going to unplug it just to make a point. You can take, of course, probably so much sweat in this. So this case was bought from a company called Anker, A-N-K-E-R. It's a nice product. It has a battery in it. They decided to make a two-piece case that exists like this and then plug it. Well, someone will look at this and say, this case is kind of heavy and it's kind of thick, and maybe there's a way to make a much thinner case. And they will draw, and they will start drawing. But there are design professionals you'll find online, and often they're located in much lower-cost places in Silicon Valley.
Right.
I know one that's located in the Midwest. His price per hour is maybe 20%, 1/5.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Same engineering talent.
That's a good point.
Same engineering school.
Right.
Probably even graduated more senior in his class, but decided to live in a lower cost place. And they will help you to do that design. And the key is making sure, and this is where the lawyering part comes in, making sure you or your entity owns the intellectual property that's being created. Because as I said in the last show, the idea creates a snowball effect in your brain. You start living and thinking that invention, that idea, whatever it is. When Kalanick woke up, whatever morning he woke up and said, someday there's going to be a way to press a button on a smartphone and call an instant black car. Not taxi, because he wasn't looking to compete with taxis initially, if you read his story. It was the limousine. And pressing one button, the limousine will get there, and there'll be a little video game showing where the car is, because people want to know that it's coming. It's like, where are you now? When are you coming? That's a big issue for people. And he visualized that, and he started thinking through the thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of decisions made over the course of a several-year period. You will start doing that. Now, there's no guarantee of success.
That's right.
Right? You got to be willing to be persistent. I think it was Edison that said, or maybe it wasn't Edison, maybe it was the guy who started the McDonald's restaurant.
Kroc.
Ray Kroc said, you can be really smart, you can be really this, you can be really that, but if you're not persistent, man,
That's true.
It's over.
There's a lot to that.
There's a lot to it.
We have just a couple minutes left in this segment. We're going to do a bunch more, but to kind of set the stage for, the third show when we do, we've covered kind of beginning, the ideas, the names. I mean, you illustrated well today, I think, which is a huge point. Document, keep the ideas flowing, get the names. The other thing I want to talk about when we come back next week is maybe then surrounding yourself with the right people, and who do you go to trust, who do you lean on, all those, because that's another big component. I mean, it's so interesting. We all get excited about an idea, but oh my God, then the reality starts.
Right.
Right.
There's a great book if people want to read a book. It's a classic. I'm sure it's probably the copyrights have all expired because, as I said, most intellectual property, the basic ones, and we're going over mostly domains and trademarks today. And there's a registration system for trademarks we should spend some time on, but trademarks, copyrights, patents, all of those things eventually expire. The trademarks can continue forever so long as you're using the marks, but the copyrights, as a matter of law, have to expire over a period of time. Patents have to expire over a period of time. So things fall into the public domain for everyone to use. So it's important for you to realize that there's sort of a period of time that you have to advance your idea, and it's not forever.
I see.
And indeed, it's not just not forever because of the IP rights, the intellectual property rights. It's not forever because other people are thinking about the same thing.
Believe
you know
it or
what?
not.
There are people ready to start another company called Lyft, Travis. They're going to compete with us. And there's like hundreds of them out there.
Right.
Of course, Uber and Lyft are the main ones that are playing, and they've gotten to market fast enough to get the following, and getting that following and then serving the customer in a way so there's a feedback loop. So your point about feedback is you want to get trusted individuals to give you some feedback, even if it's critical.
Absolutely. Well, even more so.
Even more so it's critical, right?
I would make the case that you need to surround yourself with people who are going to challenge your way of thinking.
Right. So the point I want to make about the book, there's a famous book called Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a famous book that says
lives forever.
If you can establish a posse, almost like a set of disciples, people that you can rely on to say to them, whether it's by phone, email, over a beer, hey, look, I'm thinking about this. Do you think I'm kind of out in left field? Do you think this has any legs to it? And they immediately say, well, I picked up a pack of cigarettes and someone else is doing that exact invention. Be like, really? Say, yeah, that idea of releasing nicotine, because they might have come to you saying, I got this idea of, it's a big cannabis movement now, and there's all sorts of businesses being created around the legalization of marijuana. And then people are saying, well, what about if we vary the dose based on pressing something? So you pick up Camel's got a patent on that. You may want to think about it. Maybe you can make something better out of it, though. Yeah. So it's good to have a group of people because it really extends your reach.
It does.
In a big way.
It does. All right, unfortunately, we're out of time today, but real quick before we go, at computerlaw.com, right?
Computerlaw.com.
Phone number?
650-327-9800. We're in downtown Palo Alto. We're just up the street, a block from the downtown Palo Alto Apple store, the main store there on University Avenue.
And you can also find Jack on our website. He's a permanent fixture there, whether you like it or not. That's at RERadiolive.com.
Thanks,
all right,
Joe.
This is Joe Kuchera. Thanks, Jack. Great show, as
thank
usual.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
it's
good.
Great.
We're going to be back with you in a couple of weeks. If we could have Jack back, we'll do along the series. I think it will be number 3. We'll continue those in the next couple of months. Again, for more information, you can go to RERadiolive.com. This is Joe Kuchera. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.